Welcome back, movie fans, to my continuous coverage of the Venice Film Festival 2022, and thank you for clicking on my review for Todd Field's Tar, the director's first movie in 16 years, following world-renowned musician Lydia Tarr, considered to be one of the world's greatest living composer/conductors, whose life begins to slowly crumble around her as she is just days away from recording a symphony that will elevate her already formidable career to new heights as several elements conspire against her. Now, I went into this film rather blind. I've never seen any of Todd Field's previous work, and I wasn't even sure who Lydia Tarr was. I went in and watched this film under the impression that this was a biopic for a real person. Wrong! So once you've seen this film, you can only imagine how weird of an experience that is, because this is a very contemporary film. It's a post-pandemic film that talks about events and occurrings of the real world and discusses a lot of cultural, societal, and even some political hot topics that we all deal with today, directly or indirectly. So it's a film that addresses a ton of familiar issues that everyone has an opinion on. But before I continue with my review for Todd Field's Star, let me know what you make of it in the comments below, whether you caught it at the festival, in theaters, by the time you find this video, anything and everything down there. And if you are enjoying this review and the Venice Film Festival coverage, if you love movies and TV, this is the place to be. So consider clicking that subscribe button down there and you will not miss any future conversation in your favorite movies and TV. Tar was a very weird movie watching experience for me. Not that it is difficult to decipher what it is going for, it is very clear about it and at points even boisterous about what it is going for, but it's a film that I found myself frustrated by. And while I'm still frustrated by a lot of things in it and we'll get to issues, it's a movie whose qualities are being accentuated the more I sleep on it, while the issues I have with it are not going away either. This film is entirely, wholly, fundamentally carried by Cate Blanchett. She is absolutely sensational to watch. And this isn't an easy performance to bring onto screen. Obviously, we know Cate Blanchett is good, but this character is so unlikable in the way she is presented. She is so pompous and elitist and full of herself, much like the film can feel like it is at points. She is so much better than everyone around her in the way she sees the world. But Blanchett and Field find ways of making her relentlessly entertaining while discussing these hot societal, cultural, political issues at hand as she's engaging with other characters around her. While I don't agree with a lot of what this character says, the way she does all this debating and all this discussing is fascinating to see how she elaborates her points and how the narrative interweaves all those topics of discussions onto itself and into the story. Now, this is a film that discusses not only hot topics, but sensible topics. And I found the film to do it in a sensible enough way. It deals with these topics with grace. This film clearly is portraying this character as wrong. This is a bad character. This is a character that needs to be taken down quite a few notches. And I'm glad the film does that without any excuses. It clearly presents this character as someone who has done wrongs, and it's using this character and her flaws to guide the narrative forward. The journey is of this character going down this path of destruction, specifically of self-destruction. And as you see this character's life crumble around her, it makes for quite the intense watch at points, as you have somewhat elements of horror. She is not sure what is going on around her, and we're not sure. The film treats a lot of what is happening to this character like a mystery. We never witnessed anything, we never know anything. She keeps the people around her, and by proxy us, the audience, at an arm's length, which is a good thing because this is a very unlikable character. You don't want to connect, you don't want to relate to her, but at the same time, there's an emotional depth that this film entirely lacks. The one emotional thread present in this film is Nina Hoss, who wonderfully plays Tar's wife, and you see how Tar's sins and how what is affecting her is affecting her family. I wish that was more explored. I wish the other perspective had been presented and not constantly following this one character, because once you see Tar being affected by her choices, her past mistakes, and you see the life around her getting away from her, you don't feel nothing, because all that was presented was just this unlikable character. And while there is some comeuppance to it, there is some satisfaction to it, there's just no emotional connection. What I was also captivated by is how the movie is diving into this interesting world of classical music with characters that would naturally find themselves self-important and elitists even. But the dialogue constantly took me out. None of these people speak like real human beings at all. And again, it's just so blatant in its thematics. It constantly frustrated me how there was such a promising story and narrative in there with a phenomenal Blanchett giving it her all to this film, and she is for sure going for that Oscar. But so much of my frustrations come from that script and how it chooses to expound on the points it wants to make. So while I found Cate Blanchett to be sensational in this, I found what the film is going for interesting, and on all technical aspects, this is a sublime looking and sounding film. The sound work here is top notch. I would expect some sound nominations when it comes to award season. The cinematography is hauntingly beautiful. All these lavish places, all these creative car shots, long pans, wide shots, it's all beautiful. It all looks great. But from an emotional, narrative, and even thematic perspective, this film feels entirely too full of itself. And I don't know if that's just a Todd Field thing as a storyteller, as a director and writer, but this film feels like it's getting off on its own self-importance. The first half an hour of Tar I found to be absolutely insufferable with the way it is presenting this character, this world, all the topics of discussion that it wants to expound and elaborate on. It feels like you're watching a film that is going off on an entire tangent about how it is discussing all these topics so eloquently and how its own opinion is so important. And where a lot of films go off on tangents sometimes, this movie feels entirely like that tangent. And all of this is clearly Todd Field's storytelling sensibilities on full display. The film even begins with black screen, white text credits. It is a very artistic movie. It is a very artsy-fartsy way of telling a story. General audiences are going to hate this, where the story itself is very clear, is very easy to explain. The way it is told is very full of itself, and that is what somewhat got on my nerves, where I appreciated a ton about this film. I love seeing Cate Blanchett in her most powerful performance in a while, but a ton of the other elements, particularly story, really got in the way of my enjoyment and the way I could absorb this film. It doesn't justify its 2-hour and 40-minute runtime at all. There are points in this film, there are story threads, some big, some smaller, that could have been cut from this and it wouldn't have changed a thing at all. And so I found myself observing noticing and admiring all the conceptual qualities it is going for, but in execution, I thought it needed to trim out a ton of stuff from the story. Going out from that, the final 15 to 10 minutes of this film are completely rushed, so fast moving. I was somewhat lost as to what was happening, and I'm still thinking about the ending because I barely understood how he got from point A to point B. Ultimately, Tar is wholly and undoubtedly carried by Cate Blanchett's powerhouse performance, captivating you at every single frame of this character-driven downfall. But even with sublime technical prowess on display, its self-important attitude and self-indulgence from beginning to end create for an admirable but ultimately frustrating watch. I'm giving Tar a B-. That's my review of Tar. Let me know what you thought of it, whether you caught it at the festival, whether you caught it in theaters, whenever you find this video, anything and everything down there. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for more Venice Film Festival 2022 reviews, and thank you to my channel members for always supporting this channel. And until the next one, love each other and love the movies.